No, they knew exactly where the money's coming from. Dave Rubin knew where the money was coming from when it was coming from Russia. He used it to buy his children.
Ooh. You didn't remember that Tim Pool got dinged on this one too. Bad. This is why they don't give examples, I guess. Whoops.
That is 100% false. And you know that ropes me into it, and I can.
I like how he says it's 100% false for Dave Rubin. Really? You're going to vouch for Dave Rubin here? You're going to go out and be 100% confident that Dave Rubin didn't lie to you on any of this, but Lauren Chen did? How do you know which one is trustworthy? Interesting there, but
verify it's 100% false.
All right.
Completely untrue.
It is so,
and this is important big picture stuff because USAID is funneling money into NGOs.
It's irresponsible in the extreme to the point of ludicrous negligence to not know where hundreds of thousands of dollars are coming from.
Millions of dollars, not hundreds of thousands, but millions.
To not even ask. I'm into Latinas. Can you believe what a cross that is to bear? Can you imagine? You go through all the hell of changing your sexuality, and then you discover you're into Latinas. I know I can't handle that. I know I can't handle that. So anyway, she's lovely, and she does a show with some leftist, and under each video, he's got this like 2-paragraph long disclaimer about what a terrible piece of whatever she is. You know?
Oh, he's talking about Beasley and the show he does with the one girl, I think, right?
No, I just believe that inviting people with reprehensible opinions, is necessary, blah, blah, because the audience just can't take it. They just cannot handle it. And so I personally, no disrespect to the lovely Isabella, but I don't think we should be submitting ourselves willingly to that kind of patronizing condescension when we won.
I agree.
We won. I'm seeing her next week for dinner. I'm going to tell her to pull out the show because everything she does is framed by that terribly condescending, it's sort of, there's a premise granted at the beginning of it.
He's just expressing that proposition that I said all conservative media is playing by right now. This is why I'm saying for like debates and stuff, they're not coming back until 2025 end of or 2026 during the midterms. If they feel like they have the power, this is why they all hide and cower from any type of actual adversarial conversation or any type of like big debate is because, well, we won. We don't need to talk to these guys right now. Let's go hide in our little foxholes and do our free media without being challenged, like completely ideologically unopposed.
She's on there as a kind of gargoyle, as a grotesque, as a sort of caricature of what an evil right-wing person. And I met this guy in a bar 2 days ago in DC, just coincidentally.
You're talking about Luke Beasley?
Yes, I think so. The one with the awful clothes.
He's been here.
Yeah, he's been here several times.
I mean, he's somebody who's got sort of medium verbal IQ and just absolutely no actual intelligence at all. It's just I wouldn't
demonstrate. They never can demonstrate this. What is the lack of intelligence? Why do you feel that way? These are just like random ad homs. Like considering that Beasley was on the show and obliterated like 5 conservatives at once. What does that say about you guys?
Give me some data. Stop squinting at me and saying the prosecutors did a thing. You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers.
Communications between
what communications? What did he say? What did he do?
Oh my God! Like, listen to this guy.
Enrique Tarrio crafted a memo outlining who they.
Tim is discovering this live. Oh no!
So, are you gonna at all acknowledge that you just blew up over something that I was absolutely citing fairly?
He's 22 years old, and he's in a room with 4 other people that sit here and do these stupid shows every single day, and not a single one of these disgusting Russian puppet treasonous not a single one of them even knows enough to give the bullshit counter arguments, let alone the actual fact. Oh, who the is this guy? How many conservatives did they have to roll up for this kid?
Wouldn't be surprised to discover
he's been on the show several times, and when asked to explain why he believes things, he doesn't have answers.
Like Tim got eviscerated when he tried to stand up on that J6 shit and other stuff. It's so funny for him to describe it that way because he couldn't survive, because Beasley couldn't survive Tim Pool's pop quiz on every random criminal case in the United States afterwards when Tim was desperately trying to claw back some type of credibility from him.
I asked him, I said, what's the worst thing? I said, what's the worst thing Isabella believes or the worst thing she said? I asked him 4 times. He couldn't give me an example. And I said, because it's funny, because if you can't give an example of something awful that she believes, and yet you are
something awful versus the worst thing.
Humiliating and disrespecting her with this gigantic disclaimer underneath every single video because your audience are fragile retards who can't handle it. This is so rude, and I don't think we should be submitting ourselves to that anymore because we won, they lost, they're idiots, we're brilliant. Let's just stop.
That's why Taylor got booed.
Exactly. Yep. In a world where Taylor Swift gets booed and Donald Trump.
Why does he wear sunglasses inside? I mean, there's a guess I can make, but I don't actually know if it would apply here. I think that it's not just amphetamines, but when you abuse a lot of different types of drugs, it causes your pupils to dilate, which makes them more sensitive to light. So you wear sunglasses inside to stop the light. But I feel like any drug he could do, he would have a huge tolerance build up to. So I don't even know if his fucking pupils react anymore.
Think back to 5 years ago when Donald Trump gets a standing ovation from every household in the country and everybody in that stadium. We don't need to submit ourselves to this condescension anymore. Screw you guys. You lost. Go and crawl into a dark hole somewhere and cry, and come back to us when you're ready to fight. I don't think there's any reason for us to engage in any kind of debate or discussion whatsoever anymore. I think laugh, call them something. Call them something I can't say on this show, and then move on.
Let me tell you my opinion on Luke Beasley. He's got what, like 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I actually think he's probably a moderate with slightly right leaning. The reason why he can't actually give you answers to any of his opinions is because he knows that there isn't a correct response. For instance, if
he's trapped, isn't he? When I met him, I sensed he was kind of a prisoner of his own.
Right. I'll give you.
Oh my God, people do this to me all the time. It's so boring. Like, engage with the points. Like, engage with the argument. Like, all this psychoanalyzing and all this like stupid about. Like, just if you disagree with the point, then engage with the point. Bring up some of the arguments and then engage with those arguments. Now we go into the psychoanalysis. This is such a tired, boring exercise for people that are just like that are actual retards, because I don't know if they don't have the theory of mind to engage with somebody who thinks differently than them. It's like, oh, he says something I did agree with. This must be from a deep place of insecurity. It's so boring.
Give you an example that doesn't necessarily pertain to him, but it's just a general concept. Like, if
anyone even give a specific example to him, he's just going to generalize. Why? What the f? You guys are sitting here trashing him. Give an example of something he said. He's been on your show how many times at this point? The fuck?
He says, and again, I'm not. There's not anything he's ever said to me. I'm saying it's a hypothetical. What I mean to say is, if someone said to you, women, it's not fair. They don't get paid the same as men. And then you responded with, okay, explain. Like, you do realize that job for job, women get paid sometimes more than men, especially younger women get paid more than men. And they respond with, I don't need to go into examples, and I'm not going to explain this. There have been many instances where he said something, and then I've asked him for an example, and he can't give.
What the f is that? So what? You think he would deny that there are some jobs where women get paid more than men? What was that even a response to? Did Tim Pool just lose an argument to a straw man? The straw man being that nobody would ever accept that women sometimes make more than men, but that women making more than men sometimes is a knockdown argument to women making less than men. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't even know what the fuck he's trying to argue against.
One, the younger women, if he says, and again, I'm not. There's not anything he's ever said to me. I'm saying it's a hypothetical. What I mean to say is, if someone said to you, women, it's not fair. They don't get paid the same as men. And then
if he said, so I don't know if he would even say that verbatim, but women don't get paid the same as men. And then his response is,
he responded with, okay, explain. Like, you do realize that job for job, women get paid sometimes more than men, especially younger women get paid more than men. And they respond with, I don't need to go into examples, and I'm not going to.
That's not even a response to that argument. And it's so funny too, because these guys would eviscerate you for using that same logic. Oh, like, imagine him saying like men are stronger than women, and you go, well, sometimes there are some women that are stronger than some men. They would be like, oh, you can't generalize. You can't generalize that. That's bullshit. You can't take an exception. Blah, blah. Like, they would kill you if you use that type of argument for a gender argument. So why would he use it? That's not even a response to the question. It doesn't even disprove the claim. And Luke wouldn't even make an argument that's stupid. He literally did a straw man and then lost the argument to the straw man. What a stupid fucking line of dialogue.
Explain this. There have been many instances where he said something, and then I've asked him for an example, and he can't give one. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, he actually knows that what I was saying was true and correct. But the reason why he can't give an example is because he can't defy his audience.
You're criticizing him so much for not being able to give a single example. Can you give an example? Give one example of this. Just give one example of this. How could you? This has to be a joke. This is performance art. This is theater. This is performance art. Tim Pool is seeing how much ridiculous. It's like Hassan. How much ridiculous shit can I say without the audio? Okay, I got an idea. I'm going to say, all right, listen up, guys. I can't give an example, but one of Luke Beasley's biggest problems, he can't even give examples. I can't give an example of him doing this, but you can tell how dishonest he is because he's not able to give a single example because he's bought in by such a fucking cult. And that's why he can't give a single example. I can't give any examples, but like, this guy can't give a single fucking example because he's locked in such a cult, right? This has to be performance art.
And he can't give one. Women get paid more than men. Fair, they don't get paid the same. I don't need to go into examples, and I'm not going to explain this. There have been many instances where he said something, and then I've asked him for an example, and he can't give one. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, he actually knows that what I was saying was true and correct. But the reason why I can't give an example is because he can't defy his audience.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that. And I met him, and sometimes I go like straight in on people.
Real quick, sorry, just let me put one more thing in it. It's because
is he going to give an example, or is he just going to psychoanalyze more?
as we know, being right wing just means you follow the news.
Oh.
To be, but it's true.
Well, right wing conspiracy is just something CNN hasn't reported yet.
Right. To be a liberal is to believe things that are not correct. And I'll give you an example. When the Burisma scandal happened, and Joe Biden literally said at the, I believe it was a CFR event or something, I told them, unless you fire the prosecutor, you won't get the $1 billion.
These are more strawmen. That has nothing to do with the Burisma scandal. He was fully within his ability as Obama's representative negotiating foreign policy with Ukraine. And that was literally written in to Ukrainians' loan guarantees, was that they had to make dramatic changes to their prosecutorial system. And Shogun was a known corrupt federal prosecutor in Ukraine. Everybody around the world knew this. That's why Biden said this on the open news. And he wasn't making secret fucking phone calls like Giuliani and Trump were doing. That's the difference. Also, has Temple ever acknowledged that that entire Burisma bullshit started with a guy who's now pled guilty to lying to the FBI about any tie that Hunter Biden had with Burisma and any corrupt dealings?
That is a fact that he said that and did those things. That instantly had me labeled conservative. But that's not a conservative position. That's just reporting the news.
It's not a political position at all.
That's what it means today. So this is the point. When
I don't know. I'm getting worked over this.
you get these liberals, for example, give you Hunter Avalone came on the show, and he smugly said that never happened. He has to say that because his audience would call him a conservative if he admitted it was true.
No, it's not the audience. I think
he started as a Milo mega fan, and the reason do you remember this, Serge? And the reason he started wearing aviators was because of me. And I've got some amazing DMs from him from like 2014, 15. I haven't released them yet. But they're absolutely they are oleaginous. They are.
Nick, what were you saying?
You're getting close to something here at psychology I've never been able to understand, because what you just
Oh my, this is so cringe. This is the most like fucking gender studies, sociology wannabe, like Mean Girls, like feminine, like I guess with Milo, like I shouldn't say feminine, I guess it's an insult, but like, oh my God, like why don't we deal in some facts? Why not bring up an example of something Luke said that's incorrect and then at least knock down what he said when he's not even here to defend it? Like the fact that you're constructing strawmans of a guy who's not even here is beyond fucking pathetic.
described with the Biden clip that the man watched. Everyone saw that. You can't avoid the news to that extent. We've now got a situation, there's a social dynamic where we can all watch the same thing. The most grievous thing that happened in the last 10 years was those McMichael brothers that were apprehended a construction site robbery. He grabbed their shotgun and got shot with it. The guy that filmed that.
Oh, the Ahmaud Arbery thing, where they say that it was actually Ahmaud Arbery's fault that he got shot.
Got life.
Well, he got enough to be life. He's like he's an older middle-aged guy.
They all got locked up till they're dead.
Right.
All three of those guys, including the dude just holding the cell phone, right? Yep. My point is not about the sentence, not about how heinous that is that when you talk to people who are center shitlibs and just say, watch the video and tell me, they don't see the same thing you see. It's physically there.
No, I don't know about. Again, I think this is giving them too much credit. I think what we've discovered with US AIDS and
again, to lean on our legal stuff now, right? Why would you just watch the video? How about you watch the trial? This wasn't a federal thing, was it? Is there public footage of the trial where you can read the? I didn't follow this one as closely. Ahmaud Arbery trial, YouTube.
I did not.
Was this trial broadcast on Court TV or on any other place?
As well as that a reasonable person walking or
yes, the whole trial was broadcast. Okay, why not reference the trial? Why would you reference a single fucking video?
With the various other things that are about to come out, is that in fact the left is split into two groups: people who argue in bad faith, who know better, and
then people who argue in bad faith, and then people who are emotionally delusional, who are brainwashed.
Idiots.
Oh, my bad.
And there is at any one time a healthy 30% of the population who are idiots. And that 30% of the population will always be influenceable, especially by people who have billions of dollars to spend on convincing idiots.
Billions of dollars to spend on convincing idiots, like how Elon Musk spent billions of dollars on X to convince you guys, idiots, using constant fake news and propaganda.
So, if there's a fair election with no cheating and with the current levels of embezzlement and fraud and all the rest of it, you might expect perhaps 35% of the population to vote Democrat because they're either evil or idiots. You've got 5% evil and 30% idiots. And that's about how many left-wing people there really are. It's about 35%. It's not half the country like it is in the elections. That's the cheating. But if you take away the cheating and you take away all of the money that's spent on convincing idiots, you end up with the true figure of left-wingers in the country, which is about...
Which is like... What is he going to say? 1% or 5%?
About 5%. 1 in 20 people is bonkers enough to believe this stuff, or malevolent enough to believe this stuff.
We had.
I don't think you can hold.
Let me. Case was dismissed in Georgia.
You can't.
And then it went national. And they'll hold
left-wing liberal opinions in good faith.
McMichaels?
Yeah,
they were convicted at the state level.
No, the feds went in. So the local prosecutor, threw it out because it was obviously self-defense. She got charged. Like she got some civil rights thing. Like she was looking at prisoners.
I was looking. I had to.
Wait, what? I thought federal trials were never broadcast on TV. Was that case, was the Ahmaud Arbery murder case a federal case? Ahmaud Arbery, Wikipedia trial. Was ultimately transferred to the Cobb County District Attorney's Office. Cobb County DA. This wasn't a federal thing, was it? In the Glenn County Superior Court. Can somebody, what is he referring to? Is he just making this up, or? Georgia Attorney General Christopher M. Carr formally requested the intervention of the FBI in the case on May 10th, which was granted the following day. Former Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson was indicted in September 2021 for showing favor and affection to Gregory McMichael, her former subordinate, during the investigation, and for obstructing law enforcement by directing Travis McMichael not to be arrested. In the aftermath of the murder, Georgia enacted hate crime legislation in June 2020, then proposed citizen arrest law in 2021. So they just asked the FBI to help because they were worried about it looked bad, I guess, or I don't know.
They just dismissed her case after all these years. That's numbers all you want. This rot it translates into direct legal consequences.
And the legal system, we've seen it with January 6th.
It was state level. It was state level. It was state level. It was
a federal stepped in and rebrought or county, whatever. It went larger. My point is, don't worry about state.
He has no idea what the he's just retarded. He has no clue what the he's talking about. He thinks that since the FBI was involved, it became a federal case, or he doesn't know anything about the jurisdiction or anything that's involved there.
The local jurisdiction said there's clearly nothing here.
Yes.
And then it went to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
Psychology, where they watched.
No arrests were made for more than 2 months. The GCPD said the Brunswick District Attorney's Office first advised them to make no arrests. Then Waycross District Attorney George Barnhill twice advised the GCPD to make no arrests, once before he was officially assigned to the case, and once while announcing his intention to recuse himself due to a conflict of interest at the behest of Gregory McMichael. A local attorney provided Brian's video to local radio station WGIG, which published video on May 5th. The video went viral on YouTube. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation arrested the McMichaels on May 7th and May 21st, charging them with felony murder and other crimes. The case was ultimately transferred. That's okay.
The video and saw what physically happened.
No, look, I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what happened with Ahmaud Arbery. When the guy who filmed it, so the McMichaels, simple version of it, Ahmaud Arbery was a suspect in felony burglary. The police had been going around showing his photo to people saying this is the suspect in a felony burglary. When the McMichaels...
There was a federal trial. This looks like it's for separate charges. All three men were indicted by a federal grand jury with 1 count each of interference with rights and with 1 count each of attempted kidnapping. So this, I don't think these were for the murders. That sounds like the state trial were the big ones here.
Confronted him despite being told not to. Ahmaud Arbery grabbed the shotgun from the younger McMichael, and in the fight over it, he got shot in the chest. A guy drove behind and filmed it and was unaffiliated with whatever it is they were doing. When the reports first came in...
Fuck me, dude. I feel like I need to watch this whole trial because he loves citing this one. He loves it.
And the local prosecutor said...
Jesus fucking Christ, Tim is still on about that case. He's dead wrong. Why does he insist on dying on this? It's just one of the ones he loves to cite. He also likes to cite that... the George Floyd case as well, which he lies about too. And now I'm more familiar with the George Floyd one now, so I can call out his lies on that. I don't know the Ahmaud Arbery one though. I didn't watch this whole case.
There's nothing here. This is a guy who's wanted for. He was a suspect in a felony burglary. These guys had citizen's arrest protections.
He grabbed a gun.
He grabbed his gun. These things happen. However, the guy who filmed it was angry. I believe this.
I don't know if was he actually. Is there anything saying that he was?
This is citizen's arrest protection. Reports first came in. The local prosecutor said, "There's nothing here. This is a guy who's wanted for. He was a suspect in a felony burglary. These guys."
Was he a suspect for a felony burglary? Where is this coming from? Fuck me. I don't have time to. Maybe we'll look up this case.
Had citizen's arrest protections.
He grabbed a gun.
He grabbed his gun. These things happen. However, the guy who filmed it was angry. I believe this is what happened. It's been a long time, so I may be wrong, but the guy who filmed it was upset that he was being lambasted in local media for being party to the killing of a jogger, they called him. So he had his lawyer release the footage. I believe the reason the state went after them is they basically said, this was done, it was under the rug, we were over with it, and because of your ego and need to prove you weren't involved, you opened a can of worms on our state, bringing riots and violence. I believe the reason they prosecuted him was as vengeance for releasing the information.
They may have been annoyed with what happened when he released it. Sure, I go with that. That's not why. They did because they were pressured to by national media.
Yeah. I think that's somewhat true, but I think the reason the state went after a guy who filmed was because by releasing the footage, he forced this upon them. They wanted revenge.
You have to understand these prosecutors have very few instances to make their names for anything. But when they do make their name for something, they get the opportunity to tap in to the USAID and to the State Department ecosystem of funding that might fund a run for a state level position that might ultimately...
20 minutes ago. Breaking, new resignations over Trump's DOJ moving to drop the Eric Adams case. John Keller, the acting head of the Public Integrity Section, refused to drop the case and resigned. 3 other members also resigned. Kevin Driscoll, the acting head of the department's criminal division, refused to drop the charges and also resigned. How many people do you think are going to resign over this?
ultimately turn them into a congressman or something. Think about where Kamala Harris came from. She was Attorney General of California, right? She prosecuted my liposuctionist in California.
Sorry to hear that.
She did. Well, you know, I don't know whether he did it or not, but you know, doctors borrow each other's pads all the time.
Lots of doctors in prison, I'll tell you. Very high incarceration rate.
Well, they are bastards. But, you know,
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a correction. They actually all were convicted and sentenced to life. It actually was a life sentence. Yeah. I was wrong about that. So the McMichaels got life with the possibility of parole plus 20 years, and Brian, the guy who filmed, got life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. Why did the guy who filmed get more? This is an honest question. Why did the guy who filmed get more time?
Because from the establishment's point of view, he committed the greater crime.
Because people watch the video and see different things.
I think it's because the state was going after the guy who basically created their problem. Without that video, the case was done. There was nothing there. And then after the fact, he released it. Yeah.
Well, you know,
and do you know what happened with that? The reason why they got convicted is because the language of the law, as any sane person would have read it, is if you witness a misdemeanor, you as a citizen have a right to detain the person for a citizen's arrest. Yep. However, if the person is a suspect in a felony, you don't need to witness it. But because the law,
he wasn't a suspect in any crime, though,
was written something in the 18th century or 19th century, it was missing a comma or something to this effect. So the judge to the jury said, you figure out what the law means. And so it was interpreted to mean, if you were not witness to the crime, you had no rights to stop them.
You're giving the jury way too much credit, right?
Why the fuck would you have the right to stop somebody if you could just detain anybody thinking they're accused of a felony? What?
No.
Yeah. That's literally what happened. The judge the judge instructed the jury and said, as to this law, and said, you decide whether or not they need to witness.
I know we told him that. Like, I understand the legal issues pretty well.
You have to understand that in high-profile cases like this, the jury is handpicked, the foreman is handpicked.
I get it.
You know,
in Minnesota with the George Floyd,
happened with Roger Stone.
These jurors were marched into a building surrounded by men with rifles as people were rioting in the streets, and they knew that if they let this guy go, whether he was innocent or not, that they would die.
Right. They do all these kinds of things.
Yeah, when Al Sharpton shows up and looks at the jury.
The foreperson in the Roger Stone trial was a woman who had projected rapist on the side of a Trump building, right? You know, like that was and the judge knew that and didn't get rid of her.
Well, they broke so like the lead juror, I believe, was in the big Proud Boys case when they got the four of them, they all got 18, 22 years, all that. Her quote was, I'm going to say this almost exactly, but paraphrasing is, I'm a black woman, so I'm qualified to judge people that hate me. It was words very much like that.
Right.
It's amazing that they were asking questions easily answered by referring to the court documents. They're asking why the guy filming got more time. We should be able to find. Yeah, I mean, I imagine if you look for the indictments, you probably can find a lot of this information. Or if you just watch the trial, which I haven't. I doubt he has. Is it really just 5.5 hours or whatever on that? There's no way. That would be insanely short, no? I imagine this is like days and days of indictment. And they don't link it. This is the most fucking annoying thing that has ever been done in the history of all of fucking. Indictment for William Bryan. We don't want U.S. v. William Bryan. We want Georgia. Glenn County? Or no, it was Cobb County, no? United States versus William. No. We don't want the U.S. one because that was just for like obstruction of rights or something. Okay, in the Glen Superior Court. Okay, this is the indictment. The grand jury, as aforesaid, in the name and behalf of the citizens of Georgia, charge and accuse Travis McMichael, Greg McMichael, and William R. Bryan. William was the one who recorded the video, individually and as parties concerned in the commission of a crime with the offense of malice murder, for that the said accused person in the county of Glen and state of Georgia, honor, blah, 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 did unlawfully with malice and further cause the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, a human being, by unlawfully chasing him through the public roads of the Satilla Shores neighborhood in pickup trucks and shooting him with a shotgun, contrary to the law of said state. Count 2 is felony murder. Count 3 is another felony murder? What the fuck does this mean? Only one person died, right? Felony aggravated assault. Did cause the death of Ahmaud Arbery, a human being, irrespective of malice, contrary to the laws of said state. Travis McMichael. Why do you have, how are there like multiple felony murder charges? I guess it said it at this. Malice, felony murder, felony murder, felony murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, false imprisonment. I wonder if felony murder is for each of the underlying crimes. If a person dies. A person commits the offense of murder when he unlawfully with malice aforethought, either express or implied, cause the death of another human being. Express malice is that deliberate intention unlawfully to take the life of another human being, which is manifested by external circumstances capable of proof. Malice shall be implied where no considerable provocation appears and where all the circumstances of killing shall not be abandoned. and malignant heart. A person commits the offense murder when in the commission of a felony, he or she causes the death of another human being irrespective of malice. A person commits the offense of murder in the second degree when in the commission of cruelty to children in the second degree, he or she. Okay. Weird. Okay.
Tonight, the Ahmaud Arbery murder case is poised to go to a grand jury. 3 suspects facing possible indictments for murder, including the man who recorded this infamous video. He is now accused of helping to cause Arbery's death. Here's John Sherrick.
Behind the cell phone camera recording Ahmaud Arbery running on February 23rd in Brunswick, William Roddy Bryan, a man who the GBI says moments earlier had used his vehicle illegally as a weapon to try to trap and capture Arbery, which would be a felony. Arbery, the GBI says, somehow kept on running, but right into the guns of Travis and Greg McMichael. Alpharetta criminal defense attorney Tom Salata, who is not involved in this case, says the GBI believes that what Bryan did actually helped cause Arbery's death.
They claim that Mr. Bryant used his vehicle to attempt to unlawfully confine the victim in this case. That resulted in the death of the victim.
Bryan was not, according to GBI Director Vic Reynolds, just a witness with a cell phone camera.
We believe the evidence would indicate that his underlying felony helped cause the death of Ahmaud Arbery.
Bryan's attorney, Kevin Goff.
Mr. Bryan has committed no crime and bears no criminal responsibility in his death.
You would want to say that, look, whatever Mr. Bryant did was not a contributing factor to the death of this young man. He may have been trying to false imprison somebody, but it did result in the death of this person.
The GBI does not expect to make any more arrests in the murder investigation, but agents are still investigating prosecutors and law enforcement in the Brunswick area about the way they handled or mishandled.
I haven't watched any of the underlying footage, or I've seen like the one famous video, but I haven't seen anything else. So.
Right, and the judges, you can.
Oh, great.
Yeah, brilliant.
They choose everybody else because they wore a mask to the jury selection.
Exactly. Yeah, no,
okay.
You know, I'll tell you this. I've been asked to look into, by Ye, I've been asked to look into P. Diddy's case, right?
Yeah, so I mean, the answer for why he was charged was because at least the prosecution made the argument that he was attempting to confine him. But I haven't seen the footage, but I doubt any of these guys watched the trial either because they don't seem to know anything about it as well. So,
and without talking too much about whether I will or will not do that or what the merits of that may be, I commissioned some legal work and just to sort of shine a light on what it takes to get to get anybody you want in the country today, right? So P. Diddy's being charged with RICO. Using RICO, and under that statute, which is the most astonishingly insane thing I've ever read.
Isn't he an individual in the case?
All he has. Well, they are charged. So under RICO, your life, everything you do is called an enterprise.
Oh, I know what RICO is.
And anybody associated with that enterprise, can be used. So all the prosecutors have to prove in order to take his freedom away for his whole life, and maybe he did it or maybe he didn't. Is to prove that 2 people committed 2 crimes in the last 20 years who once met P. Diddy.
I know some. That's good dudes around.
Well, I'm pretty sure for RICO, it has to be in the furtherance of the criminal enterprise. You have to be associated with them, right? But
that's it. That's it. So in 20, and this is the entertainment business, for goodness sake. For 20 years, there are 2 people who hung out with P. Diddy once, each of whom committed 1 crime. And
I don't believe that's how RICO works. I think you have to prove the whole criminal enterprise first. But
he'll go down for everything, and he can go and he can go away for life with no parole.
And that is how they use that law. Make no mistake.
Life with no parole. Because 2 people who know him committed a felony sometime in the last 20 years.
In South America, that's not just one thing. It's all that. Okay, cool. Not too surprising that this is connected to U.S. and foreign influence. My question is, how much money total of our entitlements is not just the classic welfare in the form of, say, food stamps, but grant money for just the most corrupt and ridiculous transsexual theater in regular America, not just South America, right? We need to find out what this final number is because it's everything. It's like USAID, the National Park Service.
We're never going to get there. I have billions a year.
I have a question for you and for everybody who's listening, or I should say I have a tip, I suppose. We know for a fact there are many popular liberal podcasts that run nonprofits or have nonprofits buying ad spots.
There are a lot of liberal podcasts who either run nonprofits or have nonprofits buying ad spots. How much money's worth? I've never heard of this before. Can somebody hook me up? What? Who?
Suppose. We know for a fact there are many popular liberal podcasts that run nonprofits or have nonprofits buying ad spots.
There are any popular liberal podcasts.
Whatever you want to call it.
We're going to find out.
Remember David Pakman. There's no popular.
Can you please name a single? Are we talking about like BetterHelp? Can you give like one example of this?
Well, this point I'm making is that who is funding these shows and how are they being propped up? One, obviously YouTube is propping them up, despite the fact they're clearly not popular as we just saw the results of the election. However,
how do you know how popular your online podcast is? Well, I looked at the results of the last election. Okay, so Hassan and the Majority Report and Breaking Points, that viewership is all faked because there are no socialists in office? What a fucking stupid point, but okay.
We do know that many of them sell ad space to powerful nonprofits.
Who? Can you name some?
I believe that if you track the government spending through these nonprofits, you will find it goes from government to NGO into the hands of liberal pundits.
Who? What are these nonprofits? Name them. If they're advertisements, it should literally be public. We should literally be able to just look at David Pakman's channel and go, oh my God, that's the NGO. Like, why not just name the nonprofit?
Pakman. Now, he might not even know, and that's the important thing.
Oh, well,
no. This is important. You can.
Oh, careful. He's trying to cover his tracks here.
Accuse him of knowing, you can accuse him of intentionally taking money.
I would never accuse David Pakman of knowing anything.
Sure. There very well may be.
That was coming.
There very well may be individuals who their ad person comes to them and says, this NGO wants to spend $100,000 in ads on your show.
Don't
And
you
they
think
say,
you're doing
done.
that conservative thing of giving too much credit?
No,
Can you just name one example? Name one thing. Name one sponsor. Just one.
I'm saying in general, big picture.
No, they
you
know exactly where the money's coming from. Dave Rubin knew where the money was coming from when it was coming from Russia. He used it to buy his children.
Ooh. You didn't remember that Tim Pool got dinged on this one too. Bad. This is why they don't give examples, I guess. Whoops.
That is 100% false. And you know that ropes me into it, and I can.
I like how he says it's 100% false for Dave Rubin. Really? You're going to vouch for Dave Rubin here? You're going to go out and be 100% confident that Dave Rubin didn't lie to you on any of this, but Lauren Chen did? How do you know which one is trustworthy? Interesting there, but
verify it's 100% false.
All right.
Completely untrue.
It is so,
and this is important big picture stuff because USAID is funneling money into NGOs.
It's irresponsible in the extreme to the point of ludicrous negligence to not know where hundreds of thousands of dollars are coming from.
Millions of dollars, not hundreds of thousands, but millions.
To not even ask.
And that's not the story at all. So if you know what you're talking about, maybe it sounds smarter.
All right. Well,
but clearly, as the story has already been reported and you haven't read any of it, which involves me, which I find particularly insulting, is that certainly Dave, I, as well as Benny, did ridiculous due diligence in digging and trying to figure out what the source of the revenue.
Ridiculous due diligence. In that they received a PDF, or I'm sorry, an image of the guy saying that he did business in like 20 countries and that was good enough for them.
It was beyond your typical ad deal. So when I get an ad sale person who comes to me and says,
I hate that he keeps using, he's going to do this like 20 times. This ad sale person. This is not an ad sale though, my dude. This was a content distribution. This was a licensing agreement for your content. He'll keep making this disingenuous comparison to ad sales because it's true. We don't vet ad sales. I don't know. If somebody comes to me like, oh, we want to advertise your shit. Okay, fine, sure. Yeah, why? Like, of course. But if you're talking about like content licensing, that's going to be a far more involved deal than just a simple somebody coming to you with an ad read.
Says this company
I didn't remember that you were involved in this.
This company wants to.
I also love how much of a fucking pussy ass bitch Milo is here when he admits, oh shit, I forgot that you were part of this. So I'm going to go ahead and rescind that whole line of attack, right? That is one of the most amazing bad faith, like front and center examples you could ever see and ask for a person, right? Like imagine if it was a left-leaning person and it was a story, right? Like I'm going to go so fucking hard here. Oh shit, I know you were involved in this. Never mind. I'm going to completely and totally abate all negativity about this particular. I'm going to pull back on everything here. My bad.
Of the revenue was beyond your typical ad deal. So when I get an ad sale person who comes to me and says, this company
I didn't remember that you were involved in this.
This company wants to sell, they want to buy $100,000 in ad reads over this amount of time. No one anywhere in media says, tell me who their investors are, get me on the phone with him. And when this stuff went down.
Nobody says that because you're just talking about a simple ad read, my dude. Nobody's talking about an ad read, though. You had a licensing deal for content distribution. Also, if it was an exceptionally huge amount of money, you probably actually do ask questions about where it comes from. I'd be surprised if you don't ask a single question if a no-name company were to come in and offer a fucking huge amount of money for an ad read. You probably would ask some questions.
Dave, Benny, I, and many others said, we want to know what this is all about. Who is this involved with? And when you get a prominent conservative personality based out of Nashville with an American company and says, here's the investors, they're going to talk to you, explain it. Here's the proof. We go, okay, well, like a prominent conservative personality is running a company out of Nashville.
Lauren Chen.
Lauren Chen.
Was she a prominent?
No, not that prominent, no. Well, she prominent-ish, I guess. Wasn't she on the Blaze for a little bit? I don't even know if the Blaze was prominent anymore, though.
Prominent personality?
Certainly was. Hundreds of thousands of followers on the Blaze.
Hundreds of thousands of... Oh, so 300,000 followers is enough for you to take at face value anything they tell you about an advertising deal? Okay.
Blaze, everybody knew she was, and she had a story, and so we did some digging.
I've never heard of her before this.
And so this is the point.
All right, I didn't remember you...
This is the big picture.
Remember you were a victim of
right.
that, so I apologize for casting aspersions if that was your impression.
So to imply...
I didn't remember you were a victim of that, but I...
Right. Now let's go to the big picture on USAID and other NGO funding. Now, certainly that affects us. When someone... I'll say it again. We right now have probably, 30 advertisers who've come to us and wanted to buy ads, and we said, we're in a holding pattern right now doing negotiations. They're offering us $50,000, sometimes for one ad read. One company says, we'll give you $50,000 to promote our company. Do we say, I want the CEO on the phone, I want to know who funded them, I want to know where that funding came?
No one is just talking about an ad read. This is so disingenuous. God, he's such a little snake fuck.
Nobody does that, but that wasn't quite...
And this is the point when I...
Oh, Milo almost wanted to bring that up. This wasn't quite what it was. It wasn't just an ad read. I wonder if Milo will push this.
Say about David Pakman, and you say I'm being too nice. I'm saying, when we know those things happen, take a look at where USAID was giving their money and see how much of those NGOs were buying ad reads in media, because you know they are.
Well, you're not going to like this, but to take money from somebody so obviously ludicrously insubstantial as Lauren Chen and not ask more questions seems stupid to me.
Except
we did ask questions.
There were questions asked.
I don't want to continue this because I'm not trying to attack you. I didn't remember that you were.
Oh my God! How can you see such an obvious display of pussiness? I don't want to be mean to you. I don't want to be mean to you. I don't want to be mean to you.
The big picture is...
I didn't remember you were caught up in this.
When we have 30 sponsors, do you think it's reasonable for any media company to say, get their investors on the phone?
30 sponsors? Bro, no one is talking about an ad read. I've said this a million times.
Or do you only talk to their sales reps?
I've been interviewed once by Lauren Chen, and
okay, we're beyond that.
I certainly...
The point I'm making is no company, David Pakman, Kyle Kalinske, Dave Rubin, me, or otherwise, is going beyond the sales rep and their press kit to figure out that USAID or any other government or any other country is...
Sales rep or press kit? Bro, you're not getting a sales rep here. You literally filmed a fucking... Does anybody have that initial, like, coming soon video? Fuck, this is for the stupid fucking media. It's all going to be not hosted anymore. Like, you literally filmed, like, a little video and everything and posted on your Instagram and everything else. Like, this is like a whole new media company you were a part of. Like,
funneling things into media to prop them up.
At this size, no, that's true.
Oh my God!
This size, that's true. But
not a single company does. Not a single. I'll tell you, that absolutely is. I bought billboards through Outfront Media.
I've bought billboards. I've done Times Square just like you have.
Absolutely, and never once in any of the ads that we've bought have they come to me and said, "We want your P&L, and we want to know if you have any investors, we want your board of directors." Nobody does it.
Nobody. That's just ad space. That's just ad space. Come on, dude. What are you talking about?
Nobody's saying that. I think you have to make room for the possibility, however, although you may have been taken in by a particular scheme, that other people went into it and were very happy not to look too deeply.
It's not the case for Dave Rubin.
Well,
nor Benny nor me. You can speak of anybody else, but I can say for those guys.
I don't necessarily take the views of people who concoct Franken babies for paying women to birth them as a high moral standard. Or
sure, but in this regard, I can tell you.
No, I don't really take his word for anything. I don't take his word for anything for all kinds of reasons, particularly how he treated me. He's a liar. He's a liar.
Sure.
He's a slippery, slimy, gross.
I can say in this one regard that involves me, it's not the case.
I don't know that. You may know that because you know things other people don't know. But it's not an unreasonable supposition that Dave Rubin did. Look, I think we can move on from this. It is no secret that a lot of bad money has gone to people on the right and on the center right. But it's typically
so cringe. Watching these shows, yeah, it's literally like watching like group therapy, like cope therapy. And they won the election and they're still like in pure cope mode. Why?
I believe he wants peace. I believe that President Putin, when I spoke to him yesterday, I mean, I know him very well. Yeah, I think he wants peace. I think he would tell me if he didn't. I'd like to see peace.
Do you trust President Putin?
I believe that, I believe that he would like to see something happen. I trust him on this subject. I think he'd like to see something happen. I think it could have happened a long time ago. I think Biden, number one, it shouldn't have started, but it did. And now all those cities are knocked down, like demolition sites. All those beautiful golden towers are knocked down. There's nothing going to replace them. But much more importantly, you lost millions of people. A lot of soldiers, but you lost millions of people. When they knocked down those cities, and they're all laying down on the side, they're laying down just in ashes and all crumbled up concrete. They literally look like a world-class demolition site, and many of them.
True. Maybe the U.S. should just buy that too. True.